Husband humiliated his black wife at dinner unaware. She owned 90% of their empire. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel is losing traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can help us. It's quick, free, and allows us to continue bringing you great content. Your support means everything. Let's keep this channel growing collectively. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. The restaurant was quiet enough for whispers to cut like glass. At table 14, beneath the soft haze of candlelight, a man's laughter rose just a little too loud. You really think you'd understand this deal, babe? It's not your lane. His tone slid like oil across polished silver. His wife, Alana, smiled the way people do when they've been underestimated too many times to count small, patient, but with eyes that saw everything. She wasn't dressed for power tonight. She didn't need to be. The emerald slip dress, the calm posture, the soft curls brushing her shoulders, all camouflage. What no one in that room knew, not even the man sitting across from her, was that she held 90% of the empire he believed was his. And tonight, that truth was about to eat through his arrogance like fire through paper. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you believe in dignity and justice, hit like and subscribe. These stories spark change, and we're glad you're here. Now, back to Alana. The dinner had started as a celebration. Her husband, Grant, closing another major contract for Carter Dynamics, the company they'd built from scratch, or at least that's what he told the table. The room glittered with champagne flutes and low laughter, white linen catching the golden light. Across from him sat 3 investors, all men, all nodding along as Grant spoke about his strategy, his leadership, his capital. Every his hit like a slap dressed in etiquette. Alana sat still, her hands folded around the stem of her glass, the smile never leaving her lips. When the waiter arrived, Grant ordered for her without asking. She'll take the garden salad. She's watching her carbs, he said, chuckling. One of the investors snickered. Another murmured, smart man. The insult landed with precision, her chest tightened, not with hurt but recognition, that old familiar burn of erasure. It wasn't the first time he'd performed superiority in public. It was just the first time he'd chosen the wrong audience. The waiter hesitated, eyes flicking toward Alana, sensing something shift in the air. She met his gaze and said softly, "Make that the steak. Rare." Grant froze for half a beat. "Honey, you don't even eat red." "I do tonight," she said, tone sharp enough to slice his sentence in half. The table went quiet for a second too long. One of the investors cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation back to safe ground. "Grant tells us you do marketing, right?" he asked. Grant laughed again before she could answer. "She handles the social side. Pretty stuff. Keeps her busy." That word pretty sat between them like a weapon. Alana felt the room shrink around her, the same way it had years ago in a boardroom where she wasn't invited to speak, though her name was on the contract. Memory flickered a younger version of her, standing outside glass doors, hearing men say she was lucky to have a husband who understood money. Now here he was, proving them right in front of strangers. But what they didn't know was that she had signed those contracts, funded those ventures, and quietly let his name lead because she thought partnership meant patience. She was wrong. The waiter returned with her plate, the steak glistening under candlelight, and placed it in front of her with the kind of care usually reserved for royalty. She lifted her knife and fork, steady, deliberate. Across the table, Grant leaned back, smiling for the investors. "Marriage is about knowing who's in charge," he said, winking. Alana's knife paused midair. Her smile returned colder this time. "It is," she said, "and tonight, you'll finally find out who that is." Grant's laughter still echoed faintly when the waiter walked away, leaving the table soaked in awkward silence. The investors shifted in their seats, unsure whether to speak or sip their wine. Alana's expression did not break. Years of boardrooms had taught her how to wear calm like armor. Her eyes drifted around the dining room, polished marble floors, slow jazz from a corner speaker, the scent of seared garlic and truffle butter. Everything here whispered luxury, but it also whispered something else: entitlement. Across the room, a hostess was laughing a little too loud at a joke from another table of men in suits, her posture rehearsed, her smile obedient. Alana had seen that posture before in herself, many times over. Grant lifted his glass again, swirling the liquid as if he owned the moment. "See, gentlemen," he said, "running a company is like marriage. You have to lead decisively or everything falls apart." The men nodded, pleased with the metaphor. Alana tilted her head slightly, voice soft but steady. "And what happens when the leader forgets who built the foundation?" The question cut through their laughter like a string snapping. Grant forced a smile, his hand tightening around the stem of his glass. "Honey," he said through gritted teeth, "why do you always have to make everything about work? We are celebrating." "Are we?" she replied. "Because from where I am sitting, it feels more like an audition." One of the investors laughed nervously, thinking it was banter, but Alana's tone made the laughter die halfway. She did not raise her voice, she did not need to. Her restraint had a gravity the room could feel. Grant cleared his throat, leaning forward. "You know what I love about my wife?" he said, turning to the table. "She is passionate. Even when she is wrong, she commits fully." The investors chuckled politely, trying to keep it light. Alana looked at him the way one looks at a man who is digging his own grave, fascinated but already mourning the inevitable. Her phone buzzed on the table, screen lighting up briefly with a message from her assistant. "Maya, asterisk. Final numbers confirmed. Transfer complete. Protocol ready if needed." Asterisk, Alana turned the phone face down without replying. It was not time yet. Grant kept talking, his confidence inflating with every word. "What people do not understand," he said, "is that success takes vision. You cannot just walk into a room and expect respect. You have to earn it." His eyes flicked toward her at the last line, subtle but sharp, a jab disguised as advice. Alana inhaled slowly, the edge of her diamond ring glinting under the light as she set her fork down. "You are right," she said, her voice low, controlled. "Respect has to be earned, and sometimes reclaimed." Across the table, one of the investors, a younger man with a nervous habit of adjusting his tie, finally spoke up. "I read somewhere that your company was initially financed by private equity, right?" Quite the leap of faith. Grant nodded quickly. Yes, risk and reward. I convinced the board it was worth it." Alana's gaze lingered on him. "Interesting," she said, "because I remember signing that agreement while you were still in Hong Kong." The table froze again, laughter gone. Grant blinked, unsure how to respond. He opened his mouth, but she continued, her tone almost clinical now. "You were unreachable for 48 hours. The deal would have collapsed if someone had not stepped in." She sipped her wine, calm, poised. "I wonder who that could have been." The young investor leaned back, his eyes darting between them, sensing the imbalance of truth. Grant gave a forced laugh. "You know how it is, gentlemen. My wife loves to dramatize." But his voice cracked on the last word, betraying the tension coiling in his throat. Alana smiled faintly, turning her gaze to the men across from her. "Do you know what I love about partnership?" she asked. "It reveals character faster than crisis ever will." The waiter approached again, cautious, setting down the dessert menus. "Would you care for something sweet?" he asked. Alana met his eyes and said quietly, "Not yet. The bitter part is still being served." The waiter blinked, then nodded slowly, realizing this was not an ordinary dinner. The men fell silent. Grant's jaw tightened. The power in the room had shifted, and everyone could feel it, even if they did not yet understand why. Grant adjusted his tie, a nervous flicker running through him as the silence around the table deepened. The waiter had retreated, the music hummed softly, and yet every sound felt magnified by tension. One of the investors cleared his throat, attempting to rescue the evening. "So, Alana," he said carefully, "you are in marketing, yes? What a coincidence. My wife runs a boutique agency herself." His tone was kind, but his words carried that subtle condescension reserved for women assumed to be accessory, not authority. Alana smiled politely. "That is wonderful," she said. "There is nothing more valuable than understanding how perception shapes profit." Her gaze slid to Grant, her words landing where they needed to. He raised a brow, forcing a smirk. "See? That is what makes us such a great team. She sells the story. I make it real." The laughter that followed was thin, uncomfortable. The air in the restaurant had changed. Nearby tables began to notice the unease, the kind that seeps under the skin of any room where power is quietly shifting. Alana looked down at her plate, tracing the edge of the porcelain with her knife. "Funny," she said softly. "I thought we were both real, but lately It feels like one of us is playing pretend. Grant leaned forward, voice dropping low enough for only the table to hear. Can we not do this now? You started it, she replied calmly. I am just giving the truth equal airtime. The investors sat frozen, pretending to read dessert menus they had not even opened. One of them signaled for the waiter just to break the tension, but Alana spoke again before anyone could move. Do you gentlemen know, she said evenly, that the person who actually registered Carter Dynamics was not Grant? Grant's head snapped toward her, color draining from his face. Alana, stop! It was me, she continued, her tone like glass clear, reflective, dangerous to touch. But I thought it would be better for us, for optics, if his name stood first. The world listens differently when a woman's voice signs the check. The younger investor blinked. Wait, so you are the co-founder? Majority owner, she corrected, lifting her glass. 90% to be exact. The table went utterly silent. Grant forced a laugh that came out like static. She is joking, he said quickly. She likes to tease. Alana's gaze held him steady, unflinching. Do I look like I am joking? Her voice carried, low but resonant, enough that nearby diners began to glance over. Grant's jaw tightened. You are embarrassing yourself, he hissed. No, she said softly. I am reminding you who built the ground under your seat. The older investor coughed, clearly uncomfortable. Perhaps we should take this conversation elsewhere. No, Alana interrupted, her voice steady. It belongs here where the disrespect happened. She leaned back in her chair, posture regal now, calm reclaiming its throne. Her phone buzzed again, Maya's name flashing across the screen with a short message. Asterisk, press ready, confirmation in 30 seconds. Asterisk, Alana did not touch it. She did not need to. Grant's phone vibrated next, and when he looked down, his face paled. Notifications flooded in emails from board members, internal alerts, meeting requests tagged times urgent. Asterisk, he looked back at her, panic flickering behind his bravado. What did you do? He whispered. Alana tilted her head. Nothing yet. The truth just moves faster than ego. One of the investors whispered, Is this for real? Alana turned toward him, her expression composed but electric. Real enough that by morning, every file, every transaction, and every credit line will reflect who actually owns what. Her tone was not angry. It was deliberate, controlled, final. The waiter approached timidly once more, holding a silver check tray. Would you like me to bring this to the gentleman? He asked carefully. Alana's lips curved into a faint smile. No, she said. Bring it to the owner. The waiter blinked, confused at first, then understanding dawned in his eyes. He nodded slowly and placed the bill in front of her. Grant stared, speechless. The investors looked between them, realizations sinking like a stone into deep water. The restaurant was silent again, but this time, the quiet belonged to her. The waiter hesitated only for a second before placing the check in front of Alana. The soft click of porcelain against the table sounded louder than it should have. Every pair of eyes followed it. Grant's hand twitched, reaching for the bill, but she moved first, smooth, deliberate, the kind of grace that comes from knowing you no longer have anything to prove. She took the check, slipped her black titanium card inside, and handed it back without breaking eye contact. The waiter nodded, uncertain whether to smile or bow. Across the table, Grant's composure was cracking. His voice came out tight. What exactly is this performance supposed to be? He asked. A reminder, Alana said evenly, that wealth without respect is poverty in disguise. His jaw clenched. You are making a scene. No, she replied, her tone still calm but cutting through the noise like a blade through silk. I am ending one. One of the investors whispered something to another, but both went silent when Alana turned her head toward them. Gentlemen, I apologize that you had to witness this, she said. But perhaps it is educational. You see, arrogance always believes it is invisible until the mirror shatters. Grant pushed back his chair. Enough. We are leaving. Alana's smile barely moved. By all means, you can leave. But remember, you walked in here as the face of Carter Dynamics. When you walk out, that face will no longer represent the company. His eyes widened, anger flaring. You would not dare. I already did, she said softly. While you were talking about leadership, I submitted the board restructuring documents. Effective at midnight, you are no longer chief executive officer. The words fell like stone into still water, creating ripples that spread across every corner of the restaurant. The investors stared, stunned. One of them whispered, "She cannot be serious." Alana turned her gaze toward him, calm and absolute. "I never joke about ownership." Grant's breath hitched, his mind racing. He reached for his phone again, scrolling, eyes scanning emails that confirmed what she had said. Every message bore the same subject line: immediate administrative change. His hand trembled. "You blindsided me," he muttered. "No," she said quietly. "I warned you. You just never listened when a woman spoke." The waiter returned with her card and receipt. "Everything is processed, ma'am," he said softly. "Thank you," she replied, her voice warm again, the storm behind her eyes briefly softening. "And please make sure your manager knows the tip has been adjusted to 20% of the entire check." He blinked. "The entire check, ma'am?" "Yes," she said, glancing toward the kitchen. "Good service should never suffer because someone else lost his manners." The waiter smiled, almost proud, before walking away. Around them, the dining room had gone utterly still. The quiet hum of 1,000 unspoken thoughts hung in the air. One older woman at a nearby table leaned to her companion and whispered, "That is the calmest power I have ever seen." Alana heard it, but she did not react. She looked back at Grant, whose face was now pale, sweat tracing the edges of his hairline. "You think I humiliated you tonight," she said. "But the truth is, you did that to yourself. All I did was turn on the light." He swallowed hard. "Do you really want to destroy our marriage over pride?" "Pride?" she repeated softly, then shook her head. "This was never about pride. It was about partnership, and you broke that long before tonight." Her phone buzzed once more. She finally picked it up, pressing speaker. Maya's voice came through, crisp and unwavering. "Mrs. Carter, the board has confirmed your directives. All signatures are validated, and security clearance for the headquarters has been reset under your authorization." Alana's eyes never left Grant. "Thank you, Maya. Tell them to proceed with Phase 2. Grant's voice cracked. "What Phase 2? "Accountability," she said. "Something you once told me was overrated." She stood, her chair gliding back with a quiet scrape that sounded like finality itself. The investors remained frozen, unable to look away. As she reached for her clutch, the low hum of conversations began to return to the restaurant, but none of them were about food anymore. They were about her, the woman who had walked into dinner as a wife, and was walking out as the empire itself. The sound of her heels against the marble echoed as Alana stepped away from the table. Each click was calm, deliberate, almost ceremonial. The restaurant staff parted quietly as she passed, instinctively aware that something irreversible had just happened. Grant remained seated, his breath shallow, his mind spinning through excuses that would not save him. The investors avoided his gaze, pretending to check their phones, desperate not to be part of the fallout. Alana stopped near the entrance, her reflection caught in the glass door. For a moment, she looked at herself, not the wife who had been silenced for years, not the shadow standing beside a man's ego, but the woman who had built an empire and finally reclaimed her name. Behind her, Grant stood abruptly, pushing back his chair so hard that it toppled. "Alana!" he barked, his voice cracking through the quiet. Heads turned. "You think this makes you powerful? You think this makes you right?" She did not turn around. "No," she said softly. "This makes me free." He started toward her, but one of the restaurant managers intercepted him, polite yet firm. "Sir, please calm down." "Do you know who I am?" Grant snapped. "I own—" "You used to," Alana interrupted, turning slowly now, her gaze sharp enough to stop him mid-sentence. "As of tonight, that title belongs to someone who remembers what integrity means." The manager hesitated, realizing the truth hung between them like a verdict. Grant's voice lowered, desperate. "You would really throw everything away? Over a dinner argument?" Alana stepped closer, her voice low but steady enough for everyone around them to hear. "This was never about dinner. This was about a pattern. Every meeting where you took my credit, every interview where you called me your support system instead of your partner, every time you told the world I was lucky to have you. But you were the lucky one, Grant, and you mistook my silence for permission." His lips parted, but no words came. The investors were now standing awkwardly by the table, gathering their things, one whispering to another, "She is the real boss." The phrase traveled through the room like static, bouncing from table to table until even the staff began to murmur. Alana could feel it, the shift, the invisible tide of recognition turning in her direction for the first time. The waiter who had served them earlier appeared by the door, holding her coat. "Mrs. Carter," he said softly. It was an honor. She smiled, accepting it. "Thank you," she replied. "And tell your manager the service tonight was excellent. You run your floor better than most people run corporations." He blushed slightly, nodding. Grant stood frozen in place as she slipped her coat over her shoulders. "Where will you go?" he asked finally, his voice breaking, the arrogance gone. "Home," she said. "And tomorrow to the office, the one that has my name on the building." She walked past him, leaving him amid the echo of his own collapse. As she reached the door, her phone buzzed again. This time, she answered it immediately. "Yes, Maya," she said. Her assistant's voice came through clear and unwavering. "The press statement is drafted. Do you want to review it before it goes out?" Alana paused, glancing back once more at the dining room, the stunned faces, the quiet awe, the man who had thought she was his reflection, but turned out to be standing in her shadow. "No," she said finally. "Send it exactly as written. Let them read the truth in my silence." Outside, the night air was cool against her skin, crisp and clean, washing away the last traces of pretense. Her driver, waiting by the curb, opened the car door. "Everything all right, ma'am?" he asked gently. Alana took a slow breath, her eyes steady on the skyline ahead. "It will be," she said. "It already is." As the car pulled away, the lights of the restaurant faded behind her, replaced by the glow of the city she now fully owned. Inside, Grant stood alone at the table that no longer belonged to him, surrounded by the quiet truth that power, once lost, never returns to those who misused it. The city lights blurred against the window as Alana's car moved through downtown. The hum of traffic filled the silence, a low rhythm that matched her steady breathing. She had not spoken since leaving the restaurant, but her mind was alive, calculating, remembering, deciding. Tonight had been the confrontation, but tomorrow would be the reckoning. Her phone rang again. This time it was not Maya, but someone older, steadier. "Mrs. Carter," the voice said, "this is Harold from the board. We received your restructuring notice. I must say, it was decisive." Alana smiled faintly. "Decisive is just another word for overdue, Harold. The board allowed complacency to masquerade as leadership for far too long." He cleared his throat. "I cannot argue with that. The investors are in shock, but the documents are solid. You hold controlling interest. You always have. And now they finally see it," she replied. "Schedule a meeting tomorrow at 8 sharp. Full attendance." "Understood," he said. "And Mrs. Carter, if I may tonight, took courage." "No," she corrected gently. "It took remembering who I am." She ended the call, leaning her head back against the leather seat. Outside, the headquarters of Carter Dynamics rose into view, a glass tower reflecting the night sky. The company's name glowed in bright white letters, a name she had chosen years ago when it still symbolized partnership. Now it stood for something else entirely, reclamation. "Stop here," she told her driver. He looked surprised. "Here, ma'am. The building is closed." "Not for me," she said. She stepped out of the car, heels striking the pavement with quiet confidence. The security guard at the entrance straightened instantly. "Mrs. Carter," he said, startled. "We were not expecting anyone." "You are expecting me now," she replied kindly. "Open the doors, please." Inside, the lobby was vast and echoing, the air faintly perfumed with the scent of polished wood and faint electricity. Her reflection shimmered on the marble floor beneath the company logo. For years, she had entered this space beside Grant, smiling for cameras, standing one step behind him because that was what people expected. Not tonight, not ever again. She crossed to the central elevator and pressed her personal key card against the scanner. The system beeped once, confirming full authorization hers and hers alone. The doors slid open. When she stepped out on the top floor, the darkness greeted her like an old friend. She walked to the corner office, the one that had always technically been hers, but which Grant had occupied as if it were his birthright. The desk was spotless. The view stretched wide across the skyline. She ran a hand across the polished surface, pausing where his nameplate used to sit. "Delete it," she said softly, and her voice assistant responded immediately from the system speaker. "Confirm removal of user Grant Carter." "Confirmed," she replied. The light on the desk dimmed, the system rebooted, and the name vanished from every digital display. Only hers remained. Maya's voice came through the intercom moments later. Everything is secure. Phase 2 initiated. Do you want me to alert PR for statement release? Alana looked out over the city, her reflection merging with the night lights. Not yet, she said. Let the silence speak first. Behind her, the elevator chimed again. She turned to see Maya step out, holding a folder. You really came back tonight, Maya said quietly. I could not wait until morning. Neither could I, Alana said, taking the folder. Inside were documents proof of redirected funds, hidden accounts, and board emails showing how Grant had funneled company credit into personal ventures. He built an empire on my name, she said, and used it to fund his ego. Maya nodded grimly. We will recover every cent. Alana's voice softened. No, we will recover the truth. The money is just a side effect. She closed the folder, her gaze still on the city. Tomorrow, when they walk in, they will see the company as it should have been all along, led by the person who earned it, not the one who claimed it. She turned off the lights, leaving the office bathed in the pale glow of dawn beginning to edge over the horizon. The empire was hers again, and this time, it would answer to its true name. The morning sun rose behind the glass tower of Carter Dynamics, casting gold light through the city like a promise and a warning. Inside the building, staff arrived one by one, their chatter soft and uncertain. News had already spread through every department. Grant Carter was out, and Alana Carter, the woman most had underestimated, was now officially in control. The lobby buzzed with whispers. She really owns it all? One intern asked. 90%, another replied, lowering his voice. And she fired him, last night, at a restaurant. By 8 o'clock, the top-floor boardroom filled with executives in tailored suits, each one uneasy, each one pretending they had always supported her. Alana entered quietly, not flanked by lawyers or assistants, but alone. Her presence silenced the room. She wore no bright colors, no designer jewelry, just a dark navy suit, clean lines, calm power. Her eyes met theirs without hesitation. Good morning, she said, her tone even. Let us begin. Harold, the senior board member, cleared his throat. Mrs. Carter, before we proceed, may I say on behalf of the board we are surprised, but also impressed. You acted with precision. Alana nodded slightly. Precision without purpose is just vanity, Harold. What happened last night was not a coup. It was a correction. A few executives shifted uncomfortably. One of them, Mitchell, the finance director, raised a cautious hand. If I may, Mrs. Carter, the markets have already reacted. The company's value jumped 5% at open. Investors are curious about your leadership direction. They should be, she replied. Transparency will be our first act. Every department head will submit an accountability report by end of day. No more hidden expenses, no more secret allocations. We rebuild from honesty up. Another man at the table, a marketing executive named Dean, spoke up, his voice polite but brittle. And Grant. Grant is no longer a topic of business, Alana said sharply. His name is being removed from all materials by noon. Silence followed. It was not fear that kept them quiet, but awe. She spoke with the authority of someone who had waited long enough to reclaim what was hers. Maya entered then, carrying a tablet. The press is requesting a statement, she said softly. Do you want to issue the prepared version? Alana considered it for a moment. No, she said. Bring me a camera. We will speak directly. Within minutes, a small production team arrived, setting up in the corner of the boardroom. The executives watched nervously as the lights flickered on. Alana took her place in front of the Carter Dynamics logo, standing tall. The cameraman nodded when ready. Mrs. Carter, whenever you are. She looked directly into the lens. For years, she began, this company has been celebrated for innovation, but the truth is, innovation without integrity is empty. Many of you have seen headlines, rumors, and speculation. Here is the truth. Carter Dynamics was founded on partnership, but it will move forward on accountability. Effective today, every branch of this company will operate with full transparency and ethical leadership. No one is above the standard, not even those who built it. Her voice carried through the room, measured but magnetic. Leadership is not about power, it is about service, and service begins with respect. When the recording ended, the room was silent. Harold leaned forward slowly. It is perfect, he said. The public will rally behind you. Alana smiled faintly. They will not rally behind me. They will rally behind fairness. As the team packed up, She turned toward the large window overlooking the skyline. The city looked different now, brighter, steadier. Behind her, the executives began to talk quietly, their tones no longer dismissive but reverent. Maya approached her side. "It is done," she said. "The message will air within the hour." Alana exhaled slowly, her reflection merging with the glass once more. "Good," she said. "Let them see what real leadership looks like. Calm, clear, and accountable." Outside, traffic moved like a pulse through the streets, the sound of a city adjusting to new order. And in that boardroom, under the weight of truth and renewal, Alana Carter did not just lead a company, she redefined what power was supposed to mean. By midday, Carter Dynamics was no longer a company whispered about in closed circles. It was a headline. Every major outlet had picked up the story, "Black female CEO takes control of empire." Alana Carter ousts husband in corporate revolution. Power, poise, and justice at the top. The media buzzed, but inside the glass tower, the tone was different, measured, focused, and unshakably calm. Alana walked through the corridors as if the air itself had changed weight. Employees stood taller when she passed, some offering nods of respect, others still stunned by the quiet power she carried. Maya kept close behind, tablet in hand. "The press release has gone viral," she said softly. "Positive sentiment across platforms is over 80%. The staff are reposting your speech." "Good," Alana replied. "Let them own it too. This company does not belong to fear anymore." They reached the operations floor where a small crowd had gathered near the digital board displaying live updates. One of the analysts, a young man in his 20s, turned when he saw her. "Mrs. Carter," he said nervously, "I just wanted to say thank you for showing us what real leadership looks like." Alana's smile was warm but brief. "Do not thank me," she said. "Show me. Do your best work. That is how we change the story." She moved on, each word leaving a quiet trail of resolve behind her. Upstairs, in the conference suite, Harold and a few senior executives were fielding calls from investors. "They want reassurance," Harold said as she entered. "Some are nervous about the transition." "They should be," Alana answered, walking toward the table. "Change always feels like risk to those who benefited from comfort." She took a seat at the head of the table, folding her hands neatly. "Tell them this. Stability is not built on silence. It is built on trust, and trust begins now." As Harold nodded, Maya's phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen, her expression tightening. "Ma'am," she said carefully, "Grant is outside." The room fell quiet. "He is in the lobby," Maya continued. Security called for confirmation before letting him up. Alana exhaled slowly, the calm never leaving her face. "Let him in," she said, "but make sure the cameras stay on." Moments later, the elevator doors opened, and Grant stepped out, looking disheveled for the first time in years. His usual arrogance had thinned into something brittle. "Alana," he said, his voice a mix of disbelief and desperation. "We need to talk." She stood, her posture composed but commanding. "You have 10 minutes. He glanced around the room, noting the quiet observers, the security cameras recording every second. "Can we do this privately?" "We stopped doing things privately the moment you turned our company into your personal stage," she said. "So no, Grant. We will talk here." His jaw tightened. "You cannot just erase me from everything. I built this with you." "Correction," she said evenly. "I built this. You branded it." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "If you do this, the press will eat you alive. You are painting yourself as some kind of martyr, and it will backfire." Alana smiled faintly. "I am not a martyr, Grant. I am the consequence." The room was silent except for the hum of the overhead lights. She continued, her tone even but sharp. "For years, I watched you call my discipline cold, my strategy luck, and my silence weakness. But now the silence has a voice, and it speaks louder than your ego ever did." He stared at her, realizing too late that he had already lost more than a title, he had lost the narrative. Alana turned to Maya. "Escort Mr. Carter to legal. They will finalize the separation terms." Grant's mouth opened, but no words came. As security approached, he muttered, "You will regret this." Alana's reply was calm, final. "No, Grant. I already regretted staying quiet. This is me fixing that." As he was led out, Harold whispered, "Do you want the footage archived?" "No," Alana said. "Publish it." Let the world see what accountability looks like in real time. Her voice did not rise. It did not need to. The truth had already filled every inch of the room, and for the first time in years, it belonged entirely to her. The video of Grant's removal spread across every major platform within hours. Clips of Alana standing firm in the boardroom circulated under captions like "Grace in Power" and "The Calm Revolution." Millions watched her words, replaying the moment she said, "I am not a martyr, I am the consequence." But while the world debated, Alana stayed focused. The storm outside was noise. Her mission was clarity. Inside Carter Dynamics, the reform she promised began immediately. Department heads gathered in rotating meetings, each one overseen by Alana herself. "No more unchecked authority," she told them. "If we build something lasting, it has to stand on truth." Her tone was never angry, never theatrical. It was precise. Employees who once kept their heads down began to speak up. Old complaints resurfaced, ignored emails were reopened, and policies written to protect appearances were rewritten to protect people. "Respect is not a memo," Alana reminded them. "It is an action repeated until it becomes culture." Maya managed the flow of media inquiries, filtering out the noise from genuine curiosity. "People are calling you the face of modern leadership," she said one afternoon as they reviewed the next phase of internal reform. "I am not the face," Alana replied. "I am the mirror. What they see in me is what they wish they had the courage to be." Outside her office, cameras waited daily for statements, but Alana rarely spoke to them. Her silence had become more powerful than any headline. That evening, as the city dimmed into golden dusk, Harold entered her office holding a file. "You might want to see this," he said, placing it on her desk. Inside were financial records showing a series of hidden transfers money Grant had quietly funneled to offshore accounts months before their split. Alana scanned the pages slowly, her expression unreadable. "How much?" "Roughly 8 million, Harold said. "Recovered now," but he tried to bury it deep. She nodded once. "It fits the pattern." "What do you want to do?" Harold asked. "Press charges?" Alana closed the file, her fingers resting on the cover for a long moment. "No," she said. "Expose it, not for revenge, but for precedent. Let this company learn that truth delayed is still truth delivered." Harold exhaled, half in relief, half in awe. "You could have ruined him completely," he said quietly. "I do not need to," she replied. "He did that himself." Later that night, Alana stood by the tall windows of her office, watching the city lights ripple across the river. Maya joined her, tablet in hand. "We have received hundreds of messages from women across the country," she said softly. "They are saying your story gave them the courage to walk away, to speak up, to take back what was theirs." Alana's eyes softened. "Then it was worth it," she said. "Every quiet moment, every insult swallowed, every time I was told to wait my turn, it led here. And now, no one can pretend they did not see." Maya hesitated. "And Grant?" "Grant will face himself," Alana answered. "That is a punishment I would not wish on anyone." Down below, a group of reporters waited by the building's steps, hoping for one last statement. Alana opened the window slightly, feeling the wind move through the room, carrying with it the faint noise of the city. "Record this," she said quietly. Maya lifted her device. Alana spoke softly, her words measured but filled with conviction. "To every person watching, remember this. Silence is not weakness. Dignity is not submission, and respect is not negotiable. We do not shout for justice, we embody it. That is how change lasts." She looked out at the skyline, the glow of the Carter Dynamics logo illuminating the glass tower like a promise kept. "Let the record show," she said finally. "We did not fight to win. We fought to become undeniable." The words echoed through the room, steady and final, sealing not just the end of a chapter, but the beginning of a legacy that could no longer be silenced. Weeks passed, and the transformation of Carter Dynamics became the story the nation could not stop talking about. What began as a scandal had turned into a study in resilience and reform. Under Alana's leadership, productivity rose, turnover dropped, and internal audits revealed the kind of transparency shareholders had only dreamed of. The company that once mirrored one man's ego now reflected the discipline of a woman who led with quiet conviction. Every Friday, Alana walked the floors herself, no entourage, no announcement, just a leader among her people. Employees who once avoided eye contact now greeted her with respect that felt earned, not enforced. One afternoon, she stopped by the design division where a small team had been developing a new sustainability initiative. The project lead, a young black engineer named Naomi, froze when she saw her. "Mrs. Carter," she stammered, "I did not think you would actually visit this floor." Alana smiled. "Then I suppose I will have to make a habit of it." She leaned over Naomi's workstation, studying the renderings. "This is your design?" "Yes, ma'am," Naomi said nervously. "We have been working on a model that reduces energy waste by 30%, but funding was cut last quarter." "Not anymore," Alana said simply. "You will have full support starting today." Naomi blinked, stunned. "Thank you, Mrs. Carter." "Do not thank me," Alana replied. "Thank yourself for not giving up when others ignored your idea." As she left, her assistant Maya whispered, "That moment will stay with her forever." "Good," Alana said softly. "Then she will remember to do the same for someone else one day." Later that evening, Alana returned to her office to find Harold waiting by the window. He held a small envelope. "This came for you," he said, "from the charity board." Alana opened it, reading silently before smiling faintly. "They want to name their new mentorship program after me," she said. "Do you want to accept?" Harold asked. "Only if it is not about me," Alana replied. "Make it about the women who will come after." Harold nodded. "You are setting a new standard, Alana, not just for business, but for leadership." "Standards should not be new," she said. "They should be expected." She turned toward the skyline again, the horizon glowing amber against the glass. "I do not want to be remembered for the day I fired my husband," she said. "I want to be remembered for the day this company stopped confusing arrogance with strength." Outside, the city was alive with rhythm cars, lights, laughter, all unaware that a quiet revolution had already reshaped its skyline. That night, Alana hosted a live broadcast from the top floor, speaking to employees and the public simultaneously. "Leadership is not inherited," she began, standing before the panoramic view. "It is earned through choices, through sacrifice, and through the courage to stay calm when the world expects you to break. I did not set out to make history. I set out to make things right." She paused, letting the words settle. "To every woman watching, to every person ever told to stay silent, you are not invisible. Your work, your dignity, your power matter. The world will try to test your worth. Answer it with excellence, not anger." When she finished, the broadcast went viral in minutes. Across the country, employees replayed her words. Teachers used her speech in classrooms, and young entrepreneurs quoted her in their presentations. The next morning, headlines shifted from scandal to legacy. One read simply, "Alana Carter, the CEO who redefined power." In her office, Alana placed the newspaper on her desk, then turned it face down. "Let the work speak louder than the words," she said quietly. As she walked away, the building lights dimmed behind her, but her message continued to shine far beyond its walls, a reminder that true power is not proven by domination, but by restoration. Months later, Carter Dynamics had become a model of corporate integrity. What had once been an empire built on silence was now a movement built on accountability. Alana Carter's leadership was studied in universities, cited in business journals, and praised in interviews she never granted. She preferred results to recognition. Inside the headquarters, the atmosphere was different. Meetings began with clarity, decisions ended with consensus, and the employees who once feared consequences now trusted the process. On a quiet Thursday morning, Alana stood before a wall of framed photographs showcasing every division of the company. Each image captured people who had once been overlooked, now thriving, leading, innovating. Maya entered carrying a folder. "The annual report is ready," she said. "And the numbers are extraordinary." Alana smiled faintly. "That is good, but what about the employee surveys?" Maya opened another file. 94% satisfaction rate. The feedback is consistent. People feel seen, heard, and safe." Alana nodded slowly. "That is the real profit." She turned toward the window where the city stretched beyond, bright and alive. "Schedule a full press conference for tomorrow morning," she said. "I will announce our new mentorship initiative." Maya hesitated. "The one for underrepresented founders?" "Yes," Alana said. "It is time to share what we have learned." As Maya left, Harold stepped in, his face thoughtful. "You know," he said, "every reporter wants to know how you did it, how you turned collapse into confidence." Alana looked at him, her tone calm but resolute. By refusing to let ego write the narrative, I replaced fear with truth. The rest followed. Harold chuckled. You make it sound simple. It is not simple, she replied. It is necessary. Later that evening, as the office lights dimmed, Alana sat alone at her desk, reviewing the list of scholarship recipients for the mentorship program. Each name represented a life that might change because she had refused to stay silent. She paused when she reached one name, Naomi Fields, the young engineer she had met months ago. Next to Naomi's name were the words, Program Lead. Alana smiled, signing the approval with a flourish. The following morning, the company atrium filled with reporters and employees. Cameras flashed, microphones pointed forward as Alana stepped onto the stage. She did not stand behind a podium. She stood beside her people. Good morning, she began. Today is not about me. It is about us, the people who believed in a company that could be more than profit. For too long, power has been confused with control. But real power is shared, not hoarded. The crowd listened intently. We are launching the Carter Forward Initiative, she continued. It will provide funding, mentorship, and access for underrepresented innovators who were told no one too many times. We are not just opening doors, we are rebuilding the foundation so no one has to knock again. Applause erupted, filling the space with energy and hope. Alana waited for it to settle before finishing. This is not a charity, it is a correction. Because equality should not be extraordinary, it should be expected. When the conference ended, reporters rushed to capture her statement, but Alana simply smiled and stepped aside, letting Naomi take the microphone to announce the first group of recipients. Watching from a distance, Alana felt something rare peace. She had fought a battle not just for her name, but for everyone who had ever been underestimated. As the cameras focused on the young faces on stage, Harold whispered, You realize what you just did, right? Alana turned to him, her voice soft but certain. Yes, she said. I made sure the future does not forget who it belongs to. As the year came to a close, the Carter Forward Initiative had already funded over 100 startups, each one led by people who once stood on the outside looking in. Carter Dynamics was no longer just a corporation. It had become a symbol of transformation, a blueprint for what justice could look like when handled with integrity. On a cold winter evening, Alana stood on the rooftop terrace of the headquarters, the city glittering below like a sea of moving light. Snow drifted gently through the air, resting on her shoulders as she looked out over the skyline. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, not emptiness, but balance. Maya stepped outside, wrapping her coat tighter. You should come inside, she said softly. It is freezing. Alana smiled faintly. Just a few more minutes. I want to remember this view exactly as it is. The board is waiting downstairs, Maya reminded her. They want to toast to the end of the quarter. Let them start without me, Alana said. They have earned it too. Maya hesitated, then nodded and left her to the silence. Alone, Alana thought of how far she had come the night at the restaurant, the humiliation that had sparked everything, the endless meetings, the tears she never allowed to fall where anyone could see. The journey had cost her deeply, but it had also given her something priceless, peace without permission. Her phone buzzed with a message from Naomi, now leading one of the initiative's flagship programs. The message read simply, We did it. They are listening. Alana smiled and typed back, Keep speaking. The echo matters. She slipped the phone back into her pocket and took one last look at the city that had once doubted her. Down below, through the tall glass windows, she could see the celebration beginning, employees laughing, glasses raised, lights reflecting off polished marble floors. It no longer looked like the same company. It looked alive. Harold appeared behind her, holding 2 cups of coffee. You really do prefer the quiet, he said, handing her one. The noise was never where the work happened, she replied, taking a sip. He chuckled. You know, years ago, when Grant ran this place, I used to think he was unstoppable. Turns out, I was right, it just was not him. Alana smiled at that, her breath forming a faint cloud in the cold. Unstoppable is not about never falling, she said. It is about standing back up in full view of those who expected you to stay down. They stood in silence for a moment before Harold spoke again. What happens now? Now, she said, we make sure this outlives me. Systems fade, but principles, those are forever. She turned toward the city lights one last time. For years, I thought justice had to shout to be heard, she continued. But it does not. It just needs to stand its ground. As she walked back inside, the staff began to applaud, not because of her title, but because of what she had built something larger than wealth, larger than power. On the main screen in the lobby, the company's new motto glowed in bold silver letters, "Integrity is the Empire." Alana paused in front of it, her reflection merging with the light. "This," she whispered, "is how we win, not by fighting louder, but by leading better." The applause swelled behind her, warm and real. For the first time in her life, Alana Carter felt the full weight of what she had accomplished. Not revenge, not victory, but restoration. The empire was whole again, not because she owned it, but because she had rebuilt it on truth. And as the doors closed behind her, the quiet followed like a crown, a final reminder that real power never needs to announce itself. It simply stands, unshaken,